Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The things you fear reveal the things that own you. Most people live like they're paying rent to their fears, always negotiating, always giving up little pieces of themselves to keep them quiet. And here's the wild fact. According to behavioral studies, the human brain reacts to social rejection and public embarrassment the same way it reacts to physical pain. That's why people avoid them like the plague. But Sigma males, they walk straight into situations the rest of the world tiptoes around. It's not because they're reckless or superhuman, it's because they've rewired their relationship with fear. Where others see a locked door, they see a test of whether the lock is worth picking at all. So today, we're diving into 12 fears that hold everyone else hostage, but barely make a Sigma male raise an eyebrow. Get ready. Some of these might make you sweat, and some might make you laugh. Usually because you'll realize you've been dodging these fears your whole life, while a Sigma male would treat them like a warm-up lap. Number 1. Refusing to compete where the rules are rigged. Most people will still step into a game even when they know the rules are bent against them. They can see the system is designed to make them lose, but the need to prove themselves, the addiction to recognition, and the fear of being labeled a quitter pull them in anyway. It's not always about the prize. Sometimes it's about the approval of the crowd watching. People are willing to get bruised just to be seen trying. That's how deeply the scoreboard mentality runs in most minds. Sigma males refuse to play that way. If the rules are unfair, they won't fight harder to win. They'll simply refuse to step onto the field. It's not laziness and it's not cowardice. It's intelligence. They understand that when the game is rigged, winning isn't truly winning. At best, you've just out-cheated the cheater, and at worst, you've wasted your energy proving nothing to people who weren't rooting for you in the first place. Walking away takes more backbone than trying to grind out a hollow victory, because it means choosing self-respect over applause. Most people can't handle the thought of being accused of running away, so they stay in a rigged contest, hoping they'll be the one to beat the odds. Sigma males don't have that weakness. They know the only true victory is the one where the outcome wasn't pre-decided by someone else's agenda. And here's the twist. By refusing to play, they often gain more power than if they had played and lost. Rigged systems depend on willing participants to keep their illusion alive. The moment someone who can actually win decides they won't even participate, it exposes the whole setup. It makes the champions look like they're just paper kings guarding a toy crown. Sigma males have no interest in being trophies in someone else's cabinet. They'd rather invest their energy into arenas where skill, wit, and strategy actually decide the outcome. This mindset unnerves manipulators because it means they can't bait a Sigma male into dancing for their approval. And for the Sigma, that's the ultimate power move. Proving they don't need to win your game because they're too busy building their own. Number 2, being alone with themselves. Most people aren't actually afraid of being alone. They're afraid of being alone with themselves. It's not the silence that gets to them. It's the noise that rises inside when there's nothing to distract them. The unfiltered thoughts, the regrets they've been avoiding, the truths they've been sugarcoating for years, those are the real shadows in an empty room. That's why so many people keep themselves constantly surrounded by chatter, screens, or company. It's easier to drown out the voice in your own head than to sit down and face what it's saying. Sigma males move differently. They're not just comfortable with solitude, they thrive in it. They don't need to be constantly distracted because they've already made peace with the fact that not everything inside them is pretty. They've had the hard conversations with themselves, admitted their own flaws without excuses, and accepted the parts of their personality that others might not approve of. That's what makes them unshakable when they're alone. There's nothing lurking in the dark corners of their mind they haven't already shined a light on. For most people, being left alone for too long feels like abandonment. For a Sigma male, it feels like freedom. Alone time is when they refine their thoughts, sharpen their plans, and recharge their energy. They know that solitude isn't emptiness. It's a space where distractions can't reach them, where they can recalibrate without the noise of the crowd. It's the opposite of loneliness because it's a choice, not a punishment. And here's the part that unsettles others. People who are at peace alone can't be manipulated with isolation. If someone tries to cut them off as a way of control, it backfires, because the Sigma male treats it like a gift. That's when they do their clearest thinking, make their boldest decisions, and often come back stronger than before. The truth is, only people who have never faced themselves are terrified of solitude. Sigma males have faced themselves so many times that there's nothing left to fear. They've turned their own company into a fortress. And when your mind is a place you actually want to be, no one can use loneliness as a weapon against you. Number 3, opportunities that slip away. Most people treat opportunities like rare, fragile birds. If one escapes, they panic as if they'll never see another. This mindset comes from scarcity thinking, the belief that life offers only a few golden chances, and missing one means the best part of the story is over. That's why so many people rush into situations they're not ready for, cling to toxic jobs or relationships because they might not get better, or compromise their values out of fear the door will never open again. Sigma males see the entire game differently. They know life isn't a single bus route where missing your stop means you're stranded forever. It's more like an ocean. Waves keep coming. Some are small, some are massive, some you're not ready to ride yet. But there's always another. This doesn't make them careless. It makes them patient and strategic. Instead of jumping on every opportunity like it's their last, they wait for the one that aligns with their skill, timing, and long-term goals. This patience is deadly in the best way, because it keeps them from desperation. Desperation makes people accept crumbs and call it a feast. Sigma males would rather watch a big chance drift past than grab it before they're ready to dominate it. They know that forcing the wrong opportunity is a fast way to waste time, burn out, or tie themselves to something that will drag them under. Here's the part that unnerves others. By not chasing everything, they often end up getting better opportunities than those who scramble for all of them. People can sense when someone isn't operating from fear of loss, and that energy alone makes them magnetic. Opportunities, like people, are more drawn to those who don't appear desperate for them. Sigma males have mastered the art of missing something without mourning it. They don't sit around replaying the what-ifs because they trust their ability to create or attract the next big thing. That's why they're never the ones saying, "I should have taken my shot." They know the ocean will send another wave, and when it does, they'll be ready to ride it on their own terms. Number 4, walking away from comfort. Comfort has a way of disguising itself as success. A steady job, predictable routines, familiar surroundings. They feel safe, but they slowly take the fight out of people. Most don't even notice it happening. They start trading ambition for convenience, curiosity for familiarity, and before long, they're living in a padded cell they built themselves. Fear gets a lot of blame for holding people back, but comfort is the quieter, more dangerous prison because it feels so good you don't realize you're trapped. Sigma males are wired to detect that trap early. The moment comfort starts turning into complacency, they feel it like a warning alarm. They know that staying too long in an easy situation erodes sharpness, dulls instincts, and makes the mind lazy. A comfortable life can be just as lethal to growth as constant struggle because it stops testing you. And without tests, you don't just stop improving. You start decaying. This is why Sigma males are willing to burn a life that looks perfect from the outside if they sense it's making them weaker. They'll leave the job everyone envies, walk away from the relationship that's good enough, or uproot themselves from a city they've mastered. Not because they're ungrateful, but because they value challenge over ease. They'd rather be stretched and sharpened than wrapped in a blanket of security that's slowly suffocating their potential. To most people, this choice looks reckless. To a Sigma male, it's maintenance. They're not interested in preserving the life they have at the cost of the person they're becoming. They'd rather rebuild from scratch than settle for a version of themselves that's just comfortable enough to stop growing. This mindset scares people who've built their identity around stability because it exposes a hard truth. Sometimes the life you're protecting is the very thing that's holding you back. Sigma males don't need that illusion. They'd rather face the discomfort of change than live in the comfort of slow decline. And that's why they're dangerous in the best way, because they'll walk away from what most cling to, knowing that true security comes from being able to start over, not from never having to. Number 5, not having a plan. Most people can't breathe without a clear plan. They want a step-by-step roadmap, a guaranteed timeline, and a neat set of instructions that tells them exactly where they'll be in 1, 3, or 5 years. It's comforting to believe that life will follow a script if you just plan it hard enough. But that comfort is an illusion. One unexpected storm, one sudden change, and the whole script becomes useless. Sigma males know this, and it's why they don't worship detailed plans. They value direction over prediction. To them, a compass is far more useful than an itinerary. A plan assumes the terrain won't change. A compass works no matter what the terrain does. While the world obsesses over mapping every possible turn, Sigma males focus on building adaptability, because they understand that survival and success often comes down to how fast you can adjust when things don't go your way. This isn't about being careless or unprepared. In fact, it's the opposite. Plans can make people rigid, locking them into a single approach that collapses under pressure. Sigma males stay fluid, which means they can take advantage of opportunities others miss because they were too busy trying to stick to their original blueprint. They're not afraid to pivot mid-journey, abandon a method that's no longer working, or head in a completely new direction if the compass tells them it's right. The irony is that this approach often gets them further than the most carefully laid plans. When you're adaptable, you're never truly off track. You're just taking the route that reality is offering you in that moment. Meanwhile, those clinging to their original plan can't see the better path because they're still trying to force the one they imagined months or years ago. For Sigma males, the goal isn't to predict every detail of the journey, it's to keep moving toward what matters, no matter how many times the landscape changes. That's why they can survive chaos without losing their way. The world thinks the safest way forward is to plan for everything. Sigma males know the safest way forward is to be ready for anything. Number 6, admitting they don't care. Most people are skilled at pretending to care. They'll nod along to conversations they find boring, act invested in problems that don't concern them, and put on a polite smile just to keep the social waters calm. It's not always about kindness. Often it's about fear. Fear of being labeled rude, fear of offending someone, fear of standing out as the one who isn't on board. This constant performance drains energy and breeds fake connections, but it's so normalized that most people barely notice they're doing it. Sigma males don't play that game. If something doesn't matter to them, they'll say so plainly. Not to be cruel, but because pretending to care is a waste of their time and everyone else's. They operate on the belief that honesty, even if it's uncomfortable, is more respectful than false engagement. This directness can rattle people who are used to polite pretense, but it also earns the Sigma a reputation for being refreshingly real. By refusing to fake interest, they protect their energy for the things they truly value. They're not going to sit through a meeting, conversation, or project just to keep up appearances if it doesn't align with their goals or principles. That's why when they do give attention to something, it carries more weight. People know it's genuine. Their yes means yes, and their no is non-negotiable. This attitude also shields them from manipulation. Many power games rely on emotional bait, making you feel obligated to care so you'll get involved on someone else's terms. Sigma males are immune to that trap because they don't fear the social backlash of saying, "I'm not interested." This refusal to be emotionally cornered is a quiet but lethal kind of independence. Of course, this level of bluntness makes them polarizing. Some find it refreshing, others find it abrasive. But Sigma males aren't concerned with universal approval. They understand that being selective about what deserves their energy is the only way to protect it. In a world addicted to pretending, they're the rare ones who will tell you the truth. Not because it's easy, but because anything else feels like a lie. Number 7, being the outsider. Most people will do almost anything to avoid feeling like the outsider. They'll compromise opinions, adjust their personality, and even pretend to enjoy things they secretly dislike just to keep a seat at the table. Being left out feels like a threat to their identity because so much of who they are is tied to belonging somewhere. The fear isn't just about loneliness. It's about losing social validation. Sigma males don't process it that way. For them, being on the edge of the crowd isn't a sign of weakness or exile. It's a position of strength. Distance gives them perspective. When you're not tangled in the group's approval cycles, you can see the dynamics more clearly. Who's leading, who's following, and who's just making noise. From the outside, they can decide when to engage, when to withdraw, and when to disrupt the flow entirely. This vantage point also makes them unpredictable. Most people in a group have to consider how every move will be judged by the others. Sigma males don't carry that weight. They're free to act on their own timing, say what they actually think, and make choices without worrying about how it will play in the court of public opinion. That kind of independence unsettles people who rely on peer pressure to keep everyone in line. The outsider position also shields them from the emotional traps that groups fall into. The groupthink, the mob mentality, the unspoken rules that slowly erase individuality. Sigma males can dip in when there's value and step back out when the cost of staying gets too high. This flexibility gives them more control over their environment than those scrambling to stay in the circle at all costs. To most, being left out feels like losing power. To a Sigma male, it's often where their real power begins. The edge of the crowd is where they can observe without being controlled, decide without being swayed, and move without being tracked. It's not isolation. It's a strategic position. And the people trying hardest to stay inside rarely notice that the outsider can see everything they can't. Number 8, starting over from zero. Most people see starting over as a humiliation. It feels like all the work, time, and effort they invested has gone to waste, and now they're standing at the bottom again while everyone else is ahead. That fear of losing everything keeps them clinging to situations that are already broken. The toxic job, the dying relationship, the stale business. They'd rather limp along with scraps than face the blank page of a new beginning. Sigma males don't attach their identity to what they've built in the past. They attach it to their ability to build, period. That's why they're not afraid to burn the old foundation to the ground if it no longer serves them. For them, starting from zero isn't about erasing history. It's about clearing the clutter so they can operate without dead weight. A fresh start means no inherited problems, no outdated compromises, and no obligations they've outgrown. It's freedom disguised as loss. Where others see the bottom as a pit, Sigma males see it as a launch pad. With nothing holding them down, they can move faster, sharper, and more decisively than those still dragging the baggage of their last chapter. They understand that momentum matters more than position. You can be at the top and still be stuck, or you can be at zero and already moving with unstoppable force. This mindset makes them dangerous to competitors. People expect someone who's lost everything to be weak, hesitant, and easy to outpace. But a Sigma male starting over is often more lethal than before because they're leaner, wiser, and unburdened by old commitments. The battlefield is cleaner. The strategy is sharper. The hunger is greater. It also frees them from the fear that paralyzes most people. If you've already proven to yourself that you can rebuild from nothing, there's nothing anyone can take from you that can truly destroy you. That's why Sigma males don't flinch when life wipes the slate clean. They've learned that sometimes the fastest way forward is to strip everything back to nothing and start writing the next chapter with a pen that's finally free of old ink. Number 9, letting relationships expire. Most people hold on to relationships long after they've stopped being healthy, not because they're still deeply invested, but because letting go feels like betrayal. They tell themselves they owe it to history, to shared memories, or to the fear of looking like the bad guy. That guilt, combined with the comfort of routine, keeps them tied to friendships, partnerships, and even family dynamics that are quietly draining them. Over time, these connections turn into obligations rather than bonds. but the habit of keeping them alive becomes stronger than the will to move on. Sigma males don't view relationships as permanent by default. They see them as living things, and like anything alive, some reach their natural end. When a connection stops adding value, starts breeding resentment, or consistently pulls them away from who they're becoming, they don't wait for the decay to become unbearable. They end it while it's still salvageable in memory. This approach isn't cold, it's self-preservation. Sigma males understand that staying in a dead relationship doesn't just waste time, it corrodes self-respect. You end up shrinking yourself to fit a bond that no longer fits you. By pulling the plug early, they protect their energy, keep their boundaries sharp, and avoid the kind of slow emotional poisoning that comes from pretending something is still alive when it's not. It also keeps their social circle strong. Because they don't cling out of guilt, the people they keep around are there because the connection is real and current, not because it used to be. That makes their relationship sharper, more honest, and free of the passive resentment that builds when two people stay linked only out of habit. To many, this decisiveness looks heartless, but Sigma males know there's nothing kind about keeping someone in a relationship you've already checked out of. Walking away allows both sides to grow without dragging each other down. They'd rather close a chapter cleanly than let it rot into something toxic. In their world, endings aren't always tragedies. Sometimes they're the only way to protect what was good before it got swallowed by what's gone bad. Number 10. Telling the unwelcome truth. Most people hesitate to speak truths that might cause tension. They soften their words, twist their opinions, or stay silent altogether just to keep the peace. This isn't always because they're dishonest. Often it's because they're afraid of the fallout, the awkward silence, the angry looks, the risk of being disliked or targeted. So they keep their thoughts tucked away, hoping someone else will say what needs to be said. Sigma males don't wait for that someone else. If the truth is necessary, they'll put it on the table, even if it cuts the air in the room like a blade. They're not reckless with their words, they're deliberate. They know the difference between speaking to wound and speaking to wake people up, and they understand that comfort rarely leads to change. Discomfort, on the other hand, has a way of forcing people to see things they've been avoiding. When a Sigma male speaks an unwelcome truth, it often has the weight of finality. They're not trying to start a debate or win a popularity contest. They're dropping a fact that stands whether anyone likes it or not. This gives their words a kind of gravity that polite half-truths can never match. People may bristle in the moment, but later, when the emotion fades, they often realize it was exactly what they needed to hear. This is also why Sigma males are hard to manipulate. Many power structures rely on the silence of individuals to keep operating smoothly. The moment someone calls out the flaw, the hypocrisy, or the lie, the illusion cracks. Sigma males aren't afraid of being the one to swing that hammer, because they don't depend on the group's approval for their sense of security. Of course, this makes them polarizing. Some see them as brutally honest, others see them as troublemakers. But Sigma males aren't concerned with how their truth is branded. They know that telling people what they want to hear might win temporary favor, but telling them what they need to hear creates lasting respect, even if it comes after the sting. For them, truth isn't about comfort. It's about clarity, and clarity is rarely born in a room that stays comfortable. Number 11, losing a public argument. Most people will twist themselves in knots to avoid losing a public argument. The thought of being embarrassed in front of an audience sends them into overdrive, talking louder, getting defensive, or throwing out points they don't even fully believe just to save face. For them, losing in public feels like losing their status, credibility, and control all at once. The fear isn't just about the argument, it's about the social fallout that follows. Sigma males don't see it that way. They understand that not every battle is worth winning in the moment, and that sometimes the most strategic move is to let someone else have the spotlight, especially if that person is convinced they've won. Losing publicly doesn't bruise their ego because their identity isn't tied to always being seen as the victor. In fact, they know that allowing a small, inconsequential loss can set the stage for a bigger, more decisive win later. When a Sigma male backs off or concedes a point, It's rarely because they've been outmatched. It's often because they've calculated that pushing further gains them nothing in that moment. By stepping back, they give their opponent a false sense of superiority, which can make them sloppy, overconfident, or careless in the future. That's when the Sigma makes their real move, often in a setting where the stakes are higher and the audience is more important. This approach also lets them control their emotional energy. Instead of wasting it on an ego-driven clash, they conserve it for moments that actually matter. They understand that winning isn't about proving you're right in front of every witness. It's about making sure you win when it counts, even if that means losing when it doesn't. To onlookers, a Sigma male's quiet concession might look like defeat. But to them, it's a setup. They're not interested in being the loudest voice in the room. They're interested in being the one who controls the room's direction in the long run. And sometimes the fastest way to do that is to hand your opponent a cheap victory today, knowing you'll own the real one tomorrow. Number 12, not proving their worth. Most people are locked in a constant performance, whether they realize it or not. They're subtly or blatantly trying to prove they're talented enough, smart enough, attractive enough, or successful enough to earn validation from whoever's watching. Every accomplishment gets displayed like a trophy, not just for personal pride, but as a way of saying, "See, I matter." This need for recognition can be exhausting, but it's so ingrained that most can't imagine operating without it. Sigma males step completely outside that cycle. They don't see worth as something you display for approval. They see it as something you already have, whether or not anyone notices. They understand that constantly proving yourself means you're still playing by someone else's standards. And the moment you're trapped in that loop, you've given away control of your own value. When Sigma males do prove themselves, it's never random and never to satisfy curiosity. It's strategic. They'll show their capabilities only when it serves a purpose. To gain leverage, close a deal, neutralize a threat, or open a door they actually want to walk through. If the outcome doesn't serve their objectives, they're perfectly content to let others underestimate them. In fact, they often prefer it. This refusal to perform for applause unsettles people. In a world where everyone's projecting their best selves for likes, praise, or validation, the Sigma's indifference can feel almost alien. It also gives them a quiet kind of power. When you're not seeking approval, no one can manipulate you by withholding it. By avoiding the constant need to prove anything, Sigma males keep their focus sharp. They're not chasing every opportunity to show off, which means they can invest their energy in the few moves that actually matter. And when they do step into the spotlight, it's intentional, calculated, and usually impossible to ignore. For them, worth is not a performance. It's a fact. They don't need the world to clap for it, and they're not afraid to let it remain unseen until revealing it gives them the exact advantage they're after. That's why their victories often feel sudden to others. The Sigma wasn't performing the whole time, they were preparing. When it comes to fear, most people spend their lives negotiating with it, finding ways to work around it or pretending it isn't there. Sigma males approach it differently. They don't just face fear, they dismantle it piece by piece until it loses its grip entirely. Whether it's walking away from comfort, refusing to play in a rigged game, or embracing the solitude others dread, they move through life without being chained to the same invisible limits that hold most people back. This isn't about recklessness or pretending to be fearless. It's about knowing that the real danger isn't in the risks you take. It's in the ones you avoid because you're too busy protecting an image, a routine, or someone else's approval. Sigma males have mastered the art of letting go of what doesn't serve them, even when it looks safe from the outside, and leaning fully into the unknown when it promises growth. At the core of it all is their refusal to be controlled by fear, by expectation, by tradition, or by the need to perform. They understand that real freedom comes from being able to lose, start over, stand alone, and speak truth without flinching. That's why they can walk into situations others avoid, stay calm where others panic, and turn the very things most people fear into tools for leverage. In the end, the Sigma male's strength isn't that he feels no fear. It's that he knows how to move through it without letting it shape who he is. And once you stop letting fear dictate your moves, the world stops being a maze you navigate for survival and becomes a field you command for victory. If you found yourself nodding through this video, learning something new, or maybe questioning the way you see fear, then don't just stop here. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next drop. Like this video if it hit a nerve, share it with someone who needs to hear it straight, and drop a comment telling me which point hit you the hardest. Your support doesn't just grow this channel. It fuels more unapologetic, no-fluff content like this. Let's keep building this community of thinkers, doers, and game changers.